terms of a healthy balance, yeah, especially when it comes to, you know, involvement of the capital markets, is there a ratio that you're supposed to encourage, or is it natural, just let things be? Should we encourage more people to come to the stock exchange? What impact does that have vis-a-vis encouraging people, you know, individual companies that can be able to do their thing without, you know, public infusion of public money?
My view, this is my personal view, this is not the view of CAM, is that listing, you know, in the public stock market, it's primarily to raise capital, right? And to share prosperity. Now, that is an individual company decision. There are global companies that are extremely big, but they remain as family businesses for generations. So, is it wrong not to list? I think it's not wrong if you can be able to raise capital, alternative capital.
Yes.
Then, you know, I would say it's an individual company decision.
Okay.
But I think we'd like to see more companies, and especially the SMEs, even if it's on alternative counters, to start scaling and growing using, you know, stock exchange.
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And recently, talking about external investors,
yes.
You mentioned policy, sort of having a weak policy stance. It impacts on investment, especially global players who are looking at key markets that they can put their money and get value for it. What are we doing? Are we doing anything different 2023 to see more players come in and invest, especially big investors?
So there's a big push by the government to showcase the opportunities that are there. And recently I know the government was in the US during US Africa Summit, and there were many engagements that were had. So we can see and we encourage the government to continue doing that. But again, even before you go to look for external investors, it is extremely important for you to ensure that investors in your country who are local investors are producing at the optimal level or maximum level. If I go around most of the factories here in Kenya, they are producing at 50%. Most of the production facilities are idle. One shift instead of 24-hour shifts in an industry. Why? Challenges from electricity is extremely expensive. Reliability of power. Some of these factories, when the power trips, it takes about 6 hours to power it on. So if it trips in the morning, you have to let people go for the day because it's going to take half a day, you know. So there are things that needs to be done, not only for foreign investors, but all investors. And that's what we said. Taxation, it cannot be a patchwork, you know. Every finance bill, the environment changes, and that's why we are pushing hard. As now coming to directly to your question, we have made over 250 proposals for this budget preparation, you know, season, to be able to start having those policies that encourage competitiveness in the market, because this is what is affecting us, both from exporting to other countries and also attracting investors to come to the country. Labor issues. Where now labor, we talk about minimum wage, not productivity based, right? It's a hot subject, but it get to a point where we need to talk about that because it affects us, right? And then now outside the factory, if you have a factory in Nairobi and you're taking your goods to a county like Turkana or Busia, every county you pass, you have to pay levies. It's like we're in 47 different countries, you know?
Yeah.
So there's no leveraging on what we have. You know, if you have a branded vehicle, then you have to pay for branding. You pay for branding in Nairobi, in Kiambu, in Nakuru, in Wasingishu, in Baringo. By before you get there, and a lot, it's not easy, it's not cheap.
Yes.
So these are the things that you're saying, that this continues to create a drag on the Kenyan economy. Nobody, they may be there, but people cannot confidently come and invest while they do not know how next year will be.
Definitely.
Yeah. So taxation policy need to be stabilized. These levies need to be knocked down and combined. And the government and counties, they need to figure out how to share that revenue if they have to earn a revenue from every truck, that takes goods from Nairobi to, So, you look at issues of forex availability. At what point should we continue having a regulated CBK forex rate? Because what the issue and perhaps what you get from the banks is different. All these contribute to uncertainty. So business people and manufacturers spend a lot of time thinking about these things as opposed to being on the factory floor.
Definitely. Yeah, that's quite a concern. Briefly, because we're almost coming to an end. First of all, I think there's so much potential because our counties, diversity, there's power in diversity. And looking at our counties, 47 of them are differently endowed. In terms of the strategy that we are applying, touching on manufacturing to be county specific, is it also one of the strategies that we are approaching in terms of boosting manufacturing in the country?
Yes, so we've looked at 4 pillars for 2023, 2024, 2025. And one which cuts across is competitiveness, global competitiveness. We need to be able to compete with the best in the world. We are a global village. The world is a global village. We cannot be talking about being competitive within East Africa. If you're dealing with apparels, we are competing with Chinese, we are competing with Bangladesh, we're competing with India, we're competing with everybody. So you need to be competitive. From power costs, from logistics, from everything. But also at the factory level, we need to be competitive. That's one, briefly. Now, number 2, we have export-led growth. And maybe if I just go back to competitiveness. So we're working with on a program where we're going to have an assessment of county industrial competitiveness. But there are industries that cut across. For instance, automotive. We are importing or selling over 300,000 motorbikes every year. These motorbikes are across the country. So even without overthinking, we can have production bases, assembly points at every county to assemble motorcycles. We only need to put the policy in place where stop bringing, or you don't stop, but put a duty on a fully built up motorcycle. If you bring complete semi-knockdown kits, get an incentive so that then you can employ people. That can create, and we have shown and we presented that to the national government, that you can create 1.4 million jobs across the country. Even without saying, oh, this country produces this. Motorcycle alone, cut across 1.4 million jobs. Then the next second one is export-led growth.
Yes.
We are driving that. That has been adopted by the cabinet. And now we need to put in the real soft infrastructure to make sure that happens. The other one is industrializing agriculture. This is an agricultural country. Every part of this country has a potential to grow something. If you go to Middle East, where we're getting fruits from, Egypt, Israel, it's actually a desert. I think when they look at us, and they look at what we call semi-arid, they really should be wondering what we talk about, because then they operate from a desert. So if we can industrialize our agriculture, and we know, if you are doing, which is a common maize, where are you going to take your maize after 1 year or after 7 months, and at what price? So the farmers have a certainty. Okay. And then SME development. SME cuts across the country. So we are developing those in creating ecosystem for SMEs, looking at how do you access finance, how do you access markets, both wherever you are, other counties. So not specifically saying Nyandarua need to have a potato processing plant or Nairobi needs to have this, but there are things that are cross-cutting. But I think the most important thing is to make sure we are competitive both at the county level, national level, to be able for people to be able to invest.
Definitely.
Yes.
And the year is young.
The year is young.
The strategies are lengthy. It's covering 2023 to 2025. So we have time to hold you guys accountable. And we'll be having this conversation subsequently, maybe some other parts of the year, to see the progress. Because that's another thing we do in Kenya, you know?
But yeah, I just wanted to, just before you close,
yes,
if you walk to any supermarket, any shop, any kiosk across the country, manufacturers are keeping the country moving, going. Everywhere you go, you find a manufactured good. They don't have other things, and all those things, most of them are manufactured here.
Yes.
So I just want to thank our members for keeping the country going.
Definitely, very important to shout out to your members, doing an incredible job, but we still need to work out on those rough edges on matters policy and looking at the opportunities that we can better, especially the year 2023.
Yes.
Mr. Anthony, thank you very much for your time. Anthony Mwangi, the CEO of Kenya Association of Manufacturers, saying that as much as we've made a lot of progress, we still have some more things to smoothen out. Let us change our policy environment. Let us make sure that we are giving priority to what exactly is happening in the country and the opportunities within. Yeah, and that's why Kenya Association of Manufacturers have a 2023 to 2025 strategy, which will play a critical role even in the achievement of the goal of having 20% GDP contribution by the year 2030. That is Matters Manufacturing. Thank you very much. I'm Noki Kimboy. I live with the market.